installed replenishment at sea capabilities on this ship, but this is doubtful, since this would require completely overhauling the ship's engineering plant, which they likely did not do, and the ship does not have the space to carry a year's worth of fuel. Despite these dubious endurance claims, the Shahid Ghahari is definitely a giant leap forward in Iranian naval technology. However, QuickSync makes Iran take a giant step backward. So, what does this weapon's implementation mean for control of the Arabian Gulf? The first and most obvious reason is money. Currently, the weapon of choice for taking out surface ships is the Mark 48 heavyweight torpedo. However, despite being very good at its job, it comes at a hefty price. At an eye-popping $4.2 million per shot, this weapon is very expensive and in short supply around the military. The QuickSync does the same thing at a fraction of the cost, at around $3,000 for the bomb, $27,000 for the JDAM kit, and $200,000 for the WOSA Seeker. The whole thing costs just $230,000. However, BAE, the weapons manufacturer, hopes to get the WOSA Seeker cost to about $50,000 in the future. But even at current costs, this means the Navy could have sunk almost 20 ships for the price of one torpedo. But cost is not the only major factor. It is also the scale and the range. According to most publicly available sources, even the best submarine sonars can detect targets out to around 120 miles. However, airplanes with their radars can detect ships at ranges of several magnitudes greater thanks to data sharing. Additionally, submarines are limited in both number and torpedoes. The military would have just one way to sneakily take out enemy go-to choice for preemptive strikes. With the ability to have another 5 to 10 kiloton tactical nuclear warhead or an 1,800 kilogram conventional payload, the DF-26 can travel at speeds between Mach 10 to Mach 12. Though the DF-26 follows a rather predictable arc, its hypersonic speed makes it very hard to track, much less shoot down. And despite the ominous name, another missile is much scarier than this. The DF-17 is China's most advanced non-nuclear weapon. Effectively, the Chinese equivalent to the Dark Eagle, the DF-17 has been in service since around 2019 and has an estimated speed of between Mach 5 and Mach 10. Just like the Dark Eagle, the DF-17 is a hypersonic glide vehicle propelled high into the atmosphere or low to the ground for conventional strikes on high-value targets. With roughly 48 of these launchers along the Chinese coastline, this is the highest priority threat facing the U.S. Navy in a total war scenario. However, despite not having a fully operational hypersonic missile yet, the U.S. Navy is not taking lumps lying down from China thanks to its active defense of this threat. Because Aegis-equipped ships have a limited range of around 200 nautical miles, they cannot organically see targets past that range. That's why the Navy has been working with the Air Force and Missile Defense Agency to bolster the sea service's capability to detect and shoot down hypersonic threats. In this example, we can see how the Chinese conducted a volley fire of several DF-17s towards an American carrier strike group in the South China Sea. As soon as China fires the DF-17, special satellites called hypersonic ballistic and tracking sensors can detect the heat signatures from this launch. The satellites then relay this information to
In the cold, dark depths of the Atlantic, silence is survival. One of Germany's stealthiest World War II-era submarines, designed to patrol the sea unseen and strike with precision. The sonar pings softly, then goes quiet. A convoy is detected. U-416 glides through the water like a shadow. Engines hush to a whisper. Inside, the crew is tense, every move calculated. Torpedo tubes loaded. A destroyer passes overhead. Its depth charges at the ready. U-416 holds still, the silence pressing against its hull. Then, action. The submarine pivots silently and fires. A pair of torpedoes cut through the water like arrows. Seconds later, explosions ripple through the ocean, shaking the silence. Enemy down, but the hunt isn't over. Allied ships circle, dropping depth charges. The sea becomes a minefield.